Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today's gonna be a pretty easy recap. I got pretty brutally break even, so I kind of want to go over the trade today, why I got break even, and I kind of want to talk about how to accept break even trades. I know a lot of people kind of struggle with accepting break even trades and break even days. So kind of just want to go over that, kind of give you guys some insight, hopefully give you guys some hope and help you to accept getting break even on the day. I don't really have an intro plan, so I guess we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So coming into the day today, I was pretty neutral biased. I didn't really have a whole lot of conviction on either side of the market. I was expecting lower just as much as I was expecting higher. So we had FOMC meeting minutes. We have Nvidia earnings. I think Nvidia earnings are after market close. I could be mistaken. I believe so though. So I had a pretty low expectation for today, and I was perfectly fine if it came down to it. I was perfectly fine with just sitting out. I didn't want to get involved in something that could have shot me up, spit me out. So I had pretty low expectations, pretty neutral on the day. The reason for that is because we were kind of just in this range from yesterday. Like we were kind of just accumulating inside of this range. We hadn't taken either side. We hadn't taken range highs or range lows, and we were just kind of dilly dallying around. We had this bearish hourly gap, we had this bullish hourly gap, and at the time, this bullish hourly gap was getting completely annihilated. Like coming into open, we were all the way down here. I was expecting price to come down and sweep out these lows. I think there was an SMT with YM or ES. I think it was with YM. I don't watch YM, so I mean, hindsight, I guess I could have, but it's not something that I look at ever. Um, with that being said, I was super neutral on the day. I thought open we were going to get the 930 Judas, we were going to pump lower, and then we were going to seek out sell side all the way down to here, flush it out for meeting minutes, flush it out for Nvidia earnings, whatever it may be. We did not do that. Price ended up rallying like 500, 400 points at open. It was a straight up Drake move for an hour and a half. So that happened. There wasn't really anything that I could do. I didn't have conviction going higher. I know a lot. There was this 5 minute gap right at open that got inversed right here. This was a super discretionary entry, but this entry was so this entry was honestly like super clean. I just didn't have conviction higher just as much as I didn't have conviction lower. I saw with this 5 minute gap right here, unfortunately, price came down right at open. And like I said, I didn't have conviction either way. And we left these relative equal lows right here, just like we did yesterday at 930. I honestly, my eyes were a little too focused on this. I wasn't being reactive enough to what the market was telling me. I think that and this could be hindsight, but this 5 minute gap, this was such a clean trade because I mean, we inversed a 3 minute, we had a 2 minute that we inversed, like the 1 minutes were getting inversed. We had the 5 minute CISD. We tapped into this super discounted 15 minute gap over here, um, edged these lows. I think we had the S&T with YM. This would have been a sick trade. I didn't take it, so I'm not going to sit here and just keep talking about it. But this was a good trade. I didn't expect this to keep going. Now, at this point in time, we left these relative equal lows, so my eyes were glued on London highs. I was looking at these London highs right here. I thought we were going to come up, sweep, and then we were going to go revisit those equal lows, if not head lower. So I was just kind of sitting on hands. There wasn't anything for me to do. Market open, we leave these relative equal lows. My eyes at a few minutes into open, my eyes are glued on these relative equal lows. This is what I wanted to see price go revisit. I'll go ahead and delete this hourly. This is what I wanted to see price go and revisit. We obviously didn't do that right at open. We decided to rip, like I said, just straight up. On straight up days like this, there's not really anything you can do. Like you get shallow pullbacks if you get a pullback at all. Today, I was looking for continuation longs out of any one of these 5 minute gaps that was getting open. Like we had one here, 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 we had a 15 minute. The only 5 minute gap that offered any sort of continuation long was this one right here. And sure, I know a lot of people like they fractalize. Like I hear people talking about it a lot. They like to fractalize their time frames. I agree, but there's not really any situation where I would take a 5 minute gap and a 15-second fair value gap inverse. There's probably people that do. For me personally, the 15 second is just far too much noise. Like I have the 30 second up. I'll take that every now and then. Um, 15 second, absolutely not. So there really wasn't any continuation long for me to take. Um, but with that being said, there wasn't any continuation long for me to take. So I was just hands off. Like I was sitting on my hands. There wasn't anything for me to do until we swept out this buy side. Now, if you go back to what I said yesterday, we'll go to the hourly. I said that this high should have been protected yesterday. I didn't expect us to sweep this. If we did sweep, I would have expected buy side. I would have expected higher. We didn't get higher. So we swept out this buy side inside of the hourly and inside of the 4 hour gap. This is when I kind of started really looking at, okay, let me see if I can fade a pullback. This was a super mechanical trade, this mech model right here, but we didn't have any fair value gaps in this leg right here. We swept out buy side inside of the hourly and the 4 hour gap. We had straight up ripped all morning for an hour and a half. I was okay with fading a pullback. I was okay with getting on side with a pullback and just taking it to the nearest unmitigated gap. Now, that would have been down here, but we left this swing low inside of this 5 minute gap. My eyes were on this swing low right here. This is exactly what I wanted to see get swept out for a pullback. So I didn't know if we were going to, you know, pull back into a fair value gap, keep ripping. I didn't know if we were just going to one candle dump all the way back down, go seek out these relative equal lows. I didn't know what was going to happen. What I did feel, what like where my conviction lied was we've been ripping up all day. We are due for a pullback into some sort of gap to continue higher. It's not oftentimes does a market literally just straight up rip for an extended period of time. It like you are bound for a pullback at some point, and that kind of goes back into fractalizing PD arrays or fractalizing your time frames. A pullback on the 5 minute, you don't even see that on the hourly. So I was okay with fading a pullback for price to kind of sink lower and then continue higher if that was the case today. Or if we were to continue ripping lower, like I said yesterday, I would have gotten my piece of the pie. I would have been in on the pullback, and that was all there was to it. So enough yap. Back to what I was saying. We were just sweeping out all of this buy side, and then we just completely stalled. ES was stalling, NQ was stalling. You can see like we definitely stopped trading higher with volume. This was a very big lack of volume up here, which is why my eyes kind of focused back on the charts. This is when I started looking again, and I took the same exact trade that I always do. It's just like I talked about yesterday. I look for the highest time frame inverse. We had this nice 2 minute right here. I so typically speaking, I won't just take a 2 minute. Like this was so high in this leg and there literally wasn't any structure to form a short bias off of aside from using external factors. So we had ripped up all day. We swept out buy side inside of the 4 hour, inside of the hourly. I felt that we were due for a pullback, a more so than just this little wick down into the tiny 5 minute gap. Once I saw this 2 minute gap, I was just waiting for an inverse. And this looks pretty good to me. Because you can see we left this 2 minute gap right here. We had big displacement up higher. And one thing, if there's one thing that I've really stressed with fair value gaps that sweep highs or lows, that sweep liquidity, those should be respected and used as support or resistance to continue higher or lower. So if this fair value gap swept out this liquidity pool, and I would expect this to respect the fair value gap and continue higher. those are the highest probability fair value gaps. That's why I like trading inverses after liquidity sweep, because those are the most high probable fair value gaps to continue price, like to continue delivering price in the direction. If they get inversed, I take that as a change in order flow. It's not just a random fair value gap. Um, so now this structure, to me, this wasn't good enough until, like I said, we had this huge displacement. We swept out this liquidity. We left this 1 minute and 2 minute gap. Now, yes, this was a pretty premature short, but we had this 2 minute, this is what I was looking for. We had this 2 minute rejection block right here. So after sweeping these highs with this big displacement, leaving this fair value gap, we left this nice wick up here. So I wasn't really looking for shorts on just this right here. I was gonna wait for there was a 1 minute lower. Yeah, I was gonna wait for this inverse down here because that 2 minute felt a little too premature for me to go ahead and enter in on until I saw that we had this 2 minute rejection block. And I know this isn't a key time or anything, but it's high of day. So we reacted perfectly off of CE, and then we got huge volume lower, inversing this 2 minute gap. And so at this point, I was ready to go ahead and take shorts. We inverse a gap. I wasn't willing to take them down here. This RR would have been pretty scuffed. Yeah, zero point 0.9. I wasn't comfortable with taking that. So I waited for price to revisit this 2 minute if I got it. And then I wanted to wait and monitor the reaction. So I put my stop above, I'm getting ahead of myself. So once we inversed, we tapped CE, big volume lower, inversing this 2 minute gap. I got in on, I think it was this candle right here. But yeah, so I got in on this candle right here on the way up. I didn't limit it. I just market entered on the fair value gap, and then I put my stop above CE because we had already, so we inversed a 2 minute with a lot of volume. We came up, we traded into consequent encouragement of this wick, of this rejection block, and then we got huge volume lower again, inversing that 2 minute gap. So that's all I need to see. That's my entry trigger right there. Liquidity sweep inside of a high time frame imbalance, inverse red gap on the highest time frame, and that just so happened to be the 2 minute. So after we got the CE reaction with the inverse, I didn't feel like this was premature anymore. So I went ahead and jumped in. Now I had my break even point set at these equal lows inside of this 1 minute gap. Hindsight, looking back, I don't think I necessarily needed to go break even on this. But I'll tell you why I did and why I was okay with going break even. So obviously, this looks like hot ass. This looks like a piano. I don't want to be in the market when price isn't delivering with volume and just clean. Like this wasn't clean delivery. So I was, I guess, fearful. I just really wanted to protect myself and protect my capital on a day like today. Once we swept these equal lows inside of this 1 minute gap, with today being as strong as it was, in my head, I told myself there's a possibility that price will sweep out these equal lows right here inside of this 1 minute gap, and then we were just going to go rip higher. So I was perfectly fine. Once we swept out these equal lows right here, I just went ahead and dragged stops to break even. It ended up biting me in the ass, but like I said, I would have expected price to continue flushing. Because this candle actually had a lot of volume. But once I saw this wick, like we swept those equal lows, and then we just started like just ripping higher. I just drag stop to break even, and I was like, I'm gonna save myself from this loss. I'm fading such a strong move on a pullback. It's just smarter to protect myself. So at the time, this to me was a perfect break even. We swept out these equal lows. We were in the 1 minute gap. This looked pretty gnarly. I was totally cool with going break even and accepting that break even. I was targeting, and so this is kind of what I was saying yesterday. On the 1 minute, we had a devil's mark. We had the no wick candle. What did I say about these yesterday? These are such strong draws. I love targeting no wick candles, especially when they're in close proximity. I'm not going to target a devil's mark that's like 300 points away unless it's on the daily. But But on the 1 minute, this was so close. This was pretty close. So I was cool with targeting lower. And then there was that unmitigated 5 minute gap somewhere down here. I just liked this swing low. This is all I needed. This would have been almost a 2R. I like this swing low as a target. It was in a mitigated 5 minute gap, but to me, that didn't matter. This was a perfect target. I'm not going to sweat missing out on 14 points, whatever it may be. It's just not a big deal. I'd rather take what I can get and just get out. Um, Obviously didn't. But that's where my bias came from. There's really not much else to go over aside from that was the trade. I got break even. That was why I got break even. I think it was an A plus break even. But yeah, there really wasn't much else for me to do. I guess hindsight, like I don't know if I needed to go break even. I felt like this was kind of in terms of RR, this was a pretty premature break even. I mean, it wasn't terrible. But it is what it is. It's I took the break even. I have to accept it for what it is. There's no point in me sitting on it. I saved myself capital. I saved myself mental capital. I set myself up to trade for tomorrow. That's all I'm here to do. Um, but yeah, that's how I got break even today. You can see 152 and 152. Um, but yeah, guys. I guess we'll go over. I kind of want to go over how to accept break evens as a trader because I know a lot of people get pretty frustrated with them. A lot of people go on tilt after they get break even, which is kind of, to put it bluntly, that's kind of stupid to me. Um, there's no reason you should be tilting after a break even, and here's why. I hope that this can change your perspective. If it does, great. If not, I don't know what to tell you. There's three outcomes in a day, with your trading accounts. You have three outcomes. You win, you lose, you get break even. Two of those outcomes protect you from a loss. Two of those outcomes means you're not red on the day, you're green or just a little tiny bit green, but you're not red. That's the only way you should be looking at break evens. You should be looking at break evens as I just protected myself from a loss. That's a win. When you get into a trade and you put on, let's say, $250 of risk at the time, you have to look at that as you lost 250 bucks. Like you put up $250 of risk, you have to look at that as gone anyways. So when you go break even in a trade, you just save yourself from losing whatever risk you put up. We'll use 250 bucks for example. You just saved yourself from losing 250 bucks. So now instead of being down $250 because where you go break even should be areas in price where price can turn around. You guys shouldn't go break even, when you're up 200 bucks or when you get scared or when you get antsy. You should go break even at points where price can turn around. That's the only point you should go break even. It's the only point you should take profits. So when you take that break even, you have to accept that for what it is, and what it is protecting yourself from a loss. I I take a lot of break evens to be honest. Like I went last month, I think I didn't take a lot of trades to be honest. Last month was pretty rough. Um, I think like six of my trades were break evens. I had one win last month, and the rest were losers. Every break even that I took, because last month was so rough and conditions were so horrible for me, inverses just weren't really playing out all that well, which is normal. There's like those break evens set me up to trade for this month, which is how you have to look at it. People get too zoomed in, I guess you could say, on their intraday P&L, and they lose sight of what trading is. And it's consistency, sustainability, and setting yourself up for the long term. As a day trader, I would hope that you share this same view. This is what you want to do full time. You have to treat it as a full time job. It's not often in a full time job that you lose your head, throw caution into the wind and just full port your account. That's the most, pardon my language, that's the most fucking stupid thing that you could do. There's no point in doing that. All that does is hold you back, it sets you back, and then it just diminishes your confidence and dilutes your win rate, your risk to reward, your trade frequency. It dilutes every statistic that you have. Every time you break your rules, you dilute your winning statistics. So not even winning statistics, you just dilute your statistics. So when I take a break even trade, again, I'm going to say it because I want people like, the 20 people that watch this video. I want you guys to hear this. Break even trades are wins. You have to accept them as such. And when you can accept break evens as wins, you will be shocked at the progress and just the lack of care for them. You have to treat them as I protected myself from a win. I'm not red on the day. I can trade tomorrow. I didn't act on my emotions. I took the break even like a champ. Now, instead of going into the next day down, it says like I just took a break even. I have full capital to trade with tomorrow. You have to set yourself up like that. You have to set yourself up for consistency, for longevity, and to continue trading. It's such an easy thing to overlook and such a tossed around saying, but you have to set yourself up to trade for tomorrow. You just can't get zoomed in on your intraday P&L. That's how you completely F yourself over. Can't do that. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it today. Yeah, I took the break even trade. I got off the charts. I went to the gym. Squatted my pain away, but yeah, I hope you guys again. I hope me talking about how to take a break even. I hope you took something away from that. I hope that you learned something from the recap. But that's pretty much it. I'll leave y'all with that, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.